on January 6th. And pro-life prayer warriors at abortion clinics and parents that at school boards holding their school boards accountable. We should be impeaching those judges. So the gamut of all the things to take on is so big and wide, and it's almost like we don't have enough time to do it all.
Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for the impeachment of federal judges over January 6th. Let's talk about both January 6th and impeachment. And let's talk about the miscarriage of justice and the horrible things going on as far as January 6th is concerned that the mainstream media is not covering, nor is our conservative news outlets. I generally cover this topic on my other show, BCP Unfiltered. This is important. It must be addressed here as well. I just realized, looking into the monitor, that I am not wearing my flag lapel pin. I will correct that in the next clip. The great people over at the Gateway Pundit yesterday had great coverage.
Ooh. Hello, everyone. Slow to report this afternoon. That's hey, Cindy Lou Who, Robert Shrugano, Basamo, X Pulsarnex, Scott, treasonous government, ZZZ Top. Well, all I can tell you, I'm a little bit. Fauci files are out, Otto. That's amazing. Tell you about the Gensler interaction. Well, I saw it, Max. Fauci files are out. I saw it. I'm not sure it's my place to report on it because I didn't hear everything, but let me sign in so I can give you quotes. But I will say that I tried to step in to ask, listen, ask a question, give support to Anna, but she didn't need my support. But these big guys, they just all blocked me out, but they couldn't block her out. And I heard one guy say something like, well, register a complaint in our office, send it to our office. She said something like, I'm not going to remember it exactly, but she said something like, we did. We've sent 10,000 letters. We have 65,000 people calling in, and nothing's happened yet. But she's still on appointments. Sorry, I'm trying to sign in so I can give you a quote, a live quote. And she's, the tip of your sword. See if this works. I'm feeling really tired. We walked in all these halls, and you knock on doors, you introduce yourself, and then you try to meet the representative, the senator. I didn't go into the Senate office building. And then there's so many talented legislative aides and mostly young, just really talented. And of course, they're all young compared to me. we had tremendous results. I've been asked by a couple of people to try to keep those interactions quiet, because there was some, I don't know exactly what happened, so I'm not picking on anybody, but there was some drama apparently on Twitter, which caused one representative who was on our side and was helpful to just close his office to us, and another who didn't want such a prominent presence on Twitter from this. So trying to be effective and trying to move our agenda, your agenda forward, I think it's best if I just let you know that the meetings were very good. I don't expect any one meeting to change the world. I think what all of you have done, especially with MMTLP, but GTII too, but MMTLP in particular, there's this huge awareness, but there's confusion. And before you get frustrated with that, just remember when you first heard about it, it's highly unlikely that you believed the depth of the fraud and the rapacious nature of it. So I think it was all good. In the hearings, it was quite interesting. Unfortunately, when you're on Capitol Hill, you can't get away from politics, and the committee was clearly divided between Democrats and Republicans. Maxine Waters was barely speaking to Patrick McHenry, and my feeling about Gary Gensler is he's a lot like the short sellers. At one point he answered a question, well, I'll do whatever the courts say. Well, wait a minute. You're the chairman of the SEC. The rules are clear. And by the way, when you operate in these markets and you have licenses, whether it's the Series 7, the 64, the ROP, it's not about finding gray areas. It's not about finding loopholes. You're supposed to follow the intent. And the intent's very clear. So anyway, probably bored you with that. GTII as we speak is 158 to 159. I expect Ham might have a call at 3:30, so I'll play that if he does. It would be just like him to do so. At 4:30, there's an earnings conference call for GoLogic, which I'm going to dial into and I'll play it. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to have Brent on to answer your questions. I don't know what time yet. I have to schedule it with him. But I think both GoLogic and Logic have movement in their near future as a potential. Red Hook Texan. Well, I appreciate all you guys. Yeah, Mike Dugan, Maxine Waters just sat there, she was not pleased that she no longer was in control of that committee. It's interesting how one side of the aisle can question elections and the other is not allowed to. Even in kindergarten, kids know that if the vote is nearly tied, it's normal to recount or to check the ballots or to check all that. There's Matt Kay, the purveyor of advice, usually very sane advice, like, get off the air, go home. Thank you, Ben Palmer. Which ones, Robert Kopecki? because I got to get back to Skinny Whale with those names. I need a wife or a secretary we all need wives, even wives, or a dog that can handle my technology. Oh, you bought some on Neo. I think that's good. All right, Robert. Yeah, all right. I'm trying to remember how she puts her name here, so I want to be careful, but there's one of you all that comes on, and I'm probably all right to say it out loud, but I'm feeling really tired. So I don't want to make a mistake and give her name if she keeps it private, but she's been working really hard regarding Alpine, and those are some no good nicks. Let me see, too real for you. Sorry to sound like a negative Nancy, but you guys are stuck right in the middle of the deep swamp. The good news is coming. The Saudis and the BRICS will release Project Sandman tomorrow. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but we'll find out. If it's coming tomorrow, I can wait. Yeah, there's... I was talking at dinner last night, or maybe it was our post-preamble gathering. There was, and I think it was under Robert Moses. Maybe I said it on the space call, but under Robert Moses, there was this movement to build highways and just destroy the centers of cities and move traffic from suburbs. And, you know, a lot of people fought it in New York City and Chicago and D.C. here. But one of the things that happened in that urban renewal is they tore down Penn Station, a glorious train station. One poet wrote, "We used to alight from our trains like we were gods in this soaring cathedral of a station, and now we descend from the train scurrying like rats at Union Station in not Union Station, sorry, Penn Station in New York." They're trying to change it now. They went across the street using the old post office. But there was one person that fought it, and her cause seemed really hopeless. And she gathered a lot of people behind her, and she protected the destruction of Grand Central Station. And now we have the benefit in movies, and if you have the privilege of arriving in New York on some of the trains that go through Grand Central, this glorious, glorious cathedral to another time, and almost, you know, almost makes you feel like that poet said, a little bit like this was built just for you and you're special. So anyway, her name was Jackie Onassis, and she won. Well, it feels like this is a big task and we're never going to get anywhere and all that, so negative Nancy's can say. And I get it. I mean, this has been going on, not on this scale, but it's been going on for decades. And doesn't seem to be any urgency to change it. But what's happening is, because of all of your efforts, this is Anna asking if I'm still around. I'm around and getting rounder. I'm home, but willing to return in the evening. I'll just say willing to return. All right. I have she's working so hard. She's extremely effective, and that's my point. I think I had one meeting this morning which I couldn't get into on my own, and she wasn't there. It was Ham and myself, but it was because she laid the groundwork that I was able, I think, to have the audience. I mean, it wasn't my presence. Okay, thank God she's saying it's okay. I don't have to return. My legs feel like lead blocks, and it worries me. I get, for most of my last years, I get attacks of gout, and I can feel it. I don't know, standing, maybe my blood circulation. I don't know. I walk a lot. So I don't understand why it would happen, but anyway, I'm glad I don't have to go back right now. I will tell you, GoLogic, very low volume, 188, trading 185 to 190. There's 10,000 shares on the bid. I think you're going to hear good news in terms of the commitment on the part of Brent Sun to fight these bastards, the shorts, and I think it's going to have a dramatic effect on the price of the stock. It could anyway in the near term. I don't know what other things he's going to talk about. I don't know how he's going to express himself. I just know that he's fighting mad, and what a shame it is that in our system, the regulator doesn't regulate, and it's left to companies to take these extraordinary actions, legal, all of them legal. It takes time. Companies are trying to put deals together, increase revenues, hold on to employees, raise funds, and the criminals just destroy company after company. And the regulator goes before Congress and says, well, we just will do whatever the courts allow us to. The courts? You're the regulator. He actually said that it was everything he was saying was his opinion. I'm telling you, it's so much like what you would expect the weasel shorts to say, using court systems to justify theft. Anyway, GoLogic's up 23 cents at $1.90. Logic is up a penny at 45, and it's 44 to 47. Like I say, I don't know if he's talking. I'm going to mention that tonight, but tomorrow he'll be able to talk about it. My understanding from more than one source is there's a significant buyer in LGIQ. We'll find out. VOCL down almost 3 cents at 13.5 cents. He's got to be on the verge of doing something, because he has a burn rate, and he needs to stabilize his sources of capital, and he is fighting the shorts. He went so far as to say he will not be reverse splitting. I understand he had a call either yesterday or today. I just didn't have time yet to listen to it. This little tragedy, MMAT, it's 18 cents, 18.8 to 18.9, 18.94 to 18.99. So unfair. Let's just look at GTII one more time. I'm sorry, I feel a little bit out of it. 159 to 160, 218,000 shares. I will check in about 7 minutes and see if Ham's going to do a call. Jesus, Jennifer. Well, Chris Daniel, I'm thinking there's no shares left for GTII with ultra low volume. It's getting close. Well, just to be clear, there were never any shares. They just print counterfeits out of thin air. But I get your point. I think this group apparently out of Switzerland may have been who was called in by Alpine to help rescue the trade. Went back when Lou and Frank Benedetto and COSM, intentionally or unintentionally, I'm not saying that, got the thundering herd to leave GTII and go into COSM. The stock was crushed down to around 40-some cents from Thanksgiving into the end of the year. It rallied in January and it was crushed back down. It rallied a bit just a couple of weeks now, and they're trying to bring it down again. But those were opportunistic criminals. They didn't ever mend. This is a terrible trade. It's really an idiotic short. And I don't think they ever intended to be in it this long. So apparently there's 19 million shares. You've heard about it before, to cover. And the phone call came into the inner sanctum of GTII from Utah. Well, that's where Alpine is. And Alpine's in trouble. 19 million shares to buy. If the selling stops from them, I think the selling's already stopped from the Kramers. If the selling stops from these aggressive short-term traders and traitors, the combination of having selling stop and then a buy order in an error account for 19 million shares, forget the 325 million that I seem to get criticized for believing exists as counterfeit. Forget that. Just 19 million to buy with the 1 million that we know, almost 1 million we know that's real. It's 20 million shares to buy. Without the selling, boy, and it's in an error account, they won't care about price. They're indifferent. Just close it out. You could get a real move in GTII. You don't know when it's going to start, or if, frankly, as I said on another call, it's like predicting an earthquake or the eruption of a volcano based on seismic readings. You see the seismic swarms, and you see some other indications. So you say, hey, the odds have increased. But you're not necessarily right. I think more earthquakes are predicted than actually happen, and that might be the case here. That's good advice. BBJ says, Krypton, you're good. Give it time. These low prices will all be in the rearview mirror. Won't matter if you're a few cents off. I agree with that. Yeah, Matthew Parker, there were helpful people. And we talked about it last night at dinner. And even though I wasn't 100% perfect in my reporting, I've decided I'm not going to say who or which offices, because apparently, like this associate professor from Georgetown, as soon as he saw that people are up there, he went in on behalf, I'm assuming, paid for, I'm assuming, on behalf of the criminal system, and talked to 18 Congress people. And I just don't want to dilute the effectiveness of the hard work people are doing up there. But yes, there were some really responsive, helpful, hopeful, take action kind of meetings. And I think we'll have to keep the pressure on. But yeah, I think I'm going to make it my policy not to talk about who I met with or who we met with. That way, if something goes a flitter on the Twitter, I can just say, hey, it wasn't me. Because I think the stakes are so high. The reward is so valuable. Why should I, just for a moment's tickle, just say, oh, I met here, I met there, and blah, blah, blah. Because that's a short-term I don't know, a short-term bit of excitement, but we're in a marathon. You guys have been in one, and we're hoping for a tipping point, and we're going to need quiet coalitions of Congress, women and men, and senators coming together to formulate, whether it's just simply asking for execution of the laws in place by the regulators. They may be doing investigations. They may have hearings. They may write letters themselves. I don't know. I'm not saying, I'm not confirming or denying any ideas that were discussed, but I don't want to put any of that in jeopardy. And rather than try to guess which congressman or woman wouldn't mind or which ones do, I just think I'm going to take the course of saying that there were many, many meetings that were successful. And I would guess we're talking in the range of 2 to 3 dozen responsive in a good way, senators and congressmen and staff, because a lot of the work's done by staff. So I think you're going to see some results. I'm afraid the message is going to be, I got to see if the ham is hamming, which he might be doing. And of course, it's been so long since he had one of these. I better go and look. I don't know the number to dial in on. And wow, I'm tired, guys. I'm really tired. All right, let's see. Let's see if the hamster is hamming. Because if he is, we'll get on. No, it doesn't look like he is going to. Time will come, William and family. I was with you till I switched tactics. I come here to check. I come here to who is this? Too real for you. I come here to check in because I'm honored my buddy's 3K shares. Well, you don't have to be with us. You're welcome here. And you may have better tactics. I mean, Ham's the first one that'll say, and I agree, the way to get these guys is cost them money. Catch them out the way GTII is. Unfortunately, I got to try to, my foot is hurting, so I got to try to take my shoe off. Unfortunately, with MMTLP, there's very little to be done. But I think you can safely say with MMTLP that the worst that will happen, if you have some fears about it, it sometimes helps to try to define what's the worst that could happen. I think in MMTLP, that feels so much better, in MMTLP, that the worst that can happen, and I'm not advocating for this, and I will fight it, as I'm sure many people would fight it, but the worst that could happen is they say we're going to unwind the trades. Yeah, I don't know how they would do it, but you get your money back. So that's not great. That's terrible in my judgment. But it's a lot better than the fear of, I lost everything, I'm losing my money and all that. Doesn't help if you need the money right now, and it doesn't help pay for opportunity costs. I don't think it's going to happen that way. I don't think that's going to be the solution. But hey, Frank, yeah, I don't know if coffee's even helping me, Linda. Wow, Jennifer. Here's breaking news from Jennifer. We are supposed to get some answers by end of the day tomorrow, end of the week tomorrow, from NextBridge, according to the CEO. That's really exciting, Jennifer. X Mark Ryder, what's next on the dividend? Oh, you're great, BBJ. You're a good man, BBJ. I'm going to try to, like I said, I was going to see if there's a ham call. I don't see the number posted here, so I don't think he's doing it. But I thought there might be a small chance he would do a call. And then at 4:30, there's going to be a Go Logic call. So I'm going to try to make it till then. But then I think I will follow your recommendation. So Jeff Nielsen, I didn't look for me. The dividend shares of GTII are listed in your account on 4/13. They're not included in your total. Well, I don't know what you mean by that. I would think they wouldn't be in your total number of shares because they're restricted. So I would expect it to always be a separate entry until the restriction is listed. But we'll find out. I'm not positive. The other thing is if you're talking about value, if it's not added to the value, hey, puppy dog. It doesn't trade, so if it's a separate entry, the computer doesn't know what value to assign to it. Yet, maybe. I don't know. Those are my two quick answers. Yeah, 221 GTII suspiciously low can when the the analogy to a tsunami or just a large wave takes hold. The seas pull back, it seems all calm, everything's quiet, and then the next thing you know, a life-changing event is hitting a shore, and maybe that's what low volume means here. I don't know. I didn't look if we got the dividend. You're supposed to get it it's supposed to be issued on the 29th, but the record date, or effective on the 29th, I guess. The record date was the 15th. There's no X date that's separate from the record date. So, yeah, it's possible it's in people's accounts. But remember, it's whatever they put in your account initially is just going to be an electronic IOU. Do you want to listen to Frommer's space call right now? Let me see. Let me see. Citadel Algos. Maybe that's him. Yeah, that's he. Citadel Algos. There's 15 listeners. Well, we might as well. Otto, we'll see what it sounds like.
What is happening around it? Often, that means that the algo is actually trying to cover instead of trying to sell. Now, right now, you can see where CDEL is positioned in the, you can see CDEL is up over, I think, 15 cents? If someone can, is anybody able to put into the chat? I'm not what exactly CDEL or where CDEL is trading at the moment. That would be helpful. But you can see that CDEL is being reactive, which is why I keep tweeting about it. If, for instance, right now, someone put in a penny offer above CDEL, literally a penny, not 2 pennies, not 3 pennies, because the algo doesn't respond to something that isn't imminent. The algo doesn't care if there's an offer 3 cents above it, but the algo does care when the offer gets to be the same as it. And if it sees that, it will drop. Now, it will drop that offer because it's expecting the other market maker to drop beneath it and give it an opportunity to buy as opposed to actually sell. And that's basically what you're seeing all day long today in CDEL. Now, the worst part about it, the thing that makes it really criminal, is that there's no order book. The market maker is not doing this on behalf of a customer. There's no long seller giving an order through CDEL to sell our stock at 0.1536. That's just not a thing that's actually
I don't know how to put something in the net.
Diversify Wealth for the 0.1536 update there. All you're seeing is CDEL's algorithm try to figure it out. Often people have sent me today DMs. They go, well, if it's not a retail order or not,
Busy Brands is having a call.
Weird number, like 9,150. And the answer to that is simple, because it expects you to think that it is a retail order by changing up the size the way it has. But in the end, there is no human behind it. It is simply trying to short or cover. In this case, I believe this is the last 2 or 3 days. The reason why I've been so vocal about it, pardon the pun, is that I'm seeing it real because thank goodness after we reported our 10K, I've had enough time to sit again and actually watch what's happening minute to minute, hour to hour in the stock. And what you're seeing is a classic algorithmic attempt to cap and hold the stock where it is.
Moody, I'll let him finish his thought.
For the first time, I am seeing weakness in CDEL's algo. Now, I watch a lot of other stocks as well to also see not just if I'm correct in my stock, but to see if the behavioral pattern that I'm developing the theory on in CDEL is exactly what I'm seeing in other stocks. And in the future, I'd love to call a Twitter space again to be able to outline where I'm seeing it throughout the marketplace on a daily basis. Because I do believe that it's not just created, it's not just VOCL, but that it's systemic. I don't really believe you can read much else other than by what CDEL does. You can look at the other market makers, but the truth is that the way CDEL is built and the size that they have, they can keep something undervalued until they can't. And that can sometimes be days, weeks, months, years. But I'm beginning for the first time to see what I believe are cracks in CDEL's attempt to keep the stock down. With that said, since I've gotten so many DMs today from people asking about what I was seeing, I don't have much more unless someone has a question, but given the amount of direct messages I was getting, and given how transparent I like to be with all shareholders and traders in the name, I thought it was important, as I think all CEOs should do, is spend some time talking to the shareholders during the day, literally about what they're seeing in their stock.
Should have done.
So if there's not any questions in the chat specific to it, then I'll kind of call the call to an end. But I did want to get on because so many people were sending.
All right. That was really useful. He's in my judgment, he just can't accept how criminal it is. The reason they have those different oddball numbers on the bid and the ask is, I mean, maybe he's right because he wrote the algorithm. The computer's trying to trick you into thinking it's a retail order. It's how the criminals speak to each other. It's like, hey, I want to buy back those shares that I sold in LLC number 1. Help me out. I'm the one now on the bid. And maybe that's what the 1,256 means. And then once it's done, they send another signal. I'm out. It's your turn. Who knows? They meet at Harry's bar and come up with the codes. Busy Brands Ham's call is at 2:30. Oh, maybe he's going on to Busy Brands. No, it's 8:30 it says. So going live with Ham Short Killer today at 8:30 p.m. Busy Brands. So I guess he's going to have his call 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Wow, you were with Lou, too real for you. I think Lou is on to something with how retail All right, I know there's no sound. I know there's no sound. I was trying to show you that the algorithms were communicating with you as if it were retail trades. No, that was a good call I just took, and I can't comment on what I heard. But if what I just heard is true, which it may not be, in one of your stocks, the shorts might be in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. This is what Rowena put together, and she was putting these out. She was putting this out. I should probably do a video on it. I did a video on Anna's letter. She did the whole story. The extraordinary event. We need your help. All these people screwed. But hey, they're just normal Americans. These overpaid wankers need to strip your money out of the market criminally because they have no real talent in managing money that's different than yours. And then they put Joe Biden on the last page. And then they put links. So Rowena did a great job. I had Gary Cooper, I forgot her tag. Gary Cooper put together the list of all the Senate banking committee people. I always love hearing the name Mike Crapo. Wouldn't you change that name at some point? But you know, there was a Crapo that invented the crapper. Oh no, I guess it was a crapper that invented the crapper. And then some names on the back. I don't have with me the list that Anna was working from very diligently. And then we had a couple of guys, Mike Nixon and Matt Albers helping. Though that was on Monday. And then there was some others, Sadada, I'm sure I mispronounced that, and Quintainment. And there were other people that were there, but I just never saw. It's a lot of real estate, Capitol Hill. So anyway, GTII looks to be closing at 158, 236,000 shares. So what is that? A total of maybe 15, 20,000 shares have traded since I came on an hour ago? 158 to 159. It's 219 by 100. And the reason it's 219, the algos are trying to convince you that's a retail order. And CDEL is in there, and they're not strong right now. I mean, if that's all true, I might as well go back to I might as well go back to doing something else. This is now it's 450 by 100. That actually looks like legitimate trading, 450 by 100, but 156 to 159. It's all communicating amongst the criminals. Jeremy's really smart, and I think he knows the back office extremely well. But if you don't accept that these people are essentially, here's 1588 by 100, 1588. It's $2 stock. Who trades a $1.58 stock for 88 shares? What? Let me count my pennies and see how many I can buy. Let me roll up my dimes, and it doesn't make sense. 158 up 3 cents. Volume on the day was 236,095. Hey, Pete Pangiotis. Dave Alanese. Gary Gensler never answered his parents with a yes or no. That's why he was perfect for the job. Exactly. No more money, Fahad. What stocks are shorts in trouble with? Start with MMTLP or GTII. Well, Ted, I think it's one of those. And there's only one of them that's trading. Looks like nothing happened today. Well, I think a lot happened. But let me give you, I just was given earlier by Ham stock UCAR, UCAR. It was $6 like yesterday. It was $6 yesterday. Look where it is. $44. And it was as high as 75 today. It opened at 8, went as high as 75, and it closed at 43, UCAR. So these kind of movements can happen out of the blue. The volume was, to me, wasn't that enormous. Well, I'm wrong. I must have read the wrong thing. It was 52 million shares. The market cap is $2.27 billion. NASDAQ. It doesn't say the average volume. So, oh, that was an IPO. All right, Sergio, I don't know. The guy that told me about it didn't tell me it was an IPO. Chuck Donell, we know they're stealing, but whatever we do, they don't stop it. Well, that was one of the questions that came up the most was, now wait a minute. If this is illegal, why is it allowed to go on for so long? See, I think the one advantage I have in presenting this to you, if I'm right, is I just give no credit of goodness to the other side. None. They're thieves. If they ran into you in a blinded alley, they'd hit you over the head and steal your watch and your wallet. And they'd go to the oyster bar and celebrate and say, no one FUXs with us. Hey, the Mosey Kid. James Spetsios. To be done about anything. Unless GTI management hits them with a superstorm all at once, I'm feeling less and less confident about our position, in your opinion. Well, James, that's what makes markets. And I think, I would give you a couple of stocks just off my head, GoLogic and Logic. They don't have the massive short squeeze potential GTII, but you can roll over into them, or you can go into Finger or Wolf. There's other stocks out there that'll you can make money from, so you don't have to be in GTII. I'm not about diamond hands, but you don't know when it's going to come, and until it does, you feel like it never will. Once it does, you're going to be like, oh, geez, I wish I had hung on. I knew about that. Or you might say, well, I'm glad I got out. James, good afternoon. Now for the bad news. Listening to Gary Gensler at the hearings, his corruption was brought out in clear daylight, and yet I got the sense that nothing was going to be done. I happen to agree with you on both points. But I don't think we're trying to get the answer of something done from Congress per se. It's really simple. Just enforce settlement. Just enforce the rules. If you get one congressman or senator pressing hard enough, or a committee of them pressing hard enough for sunlight on the situation, they do, after all, oversee the SEC. Hey, Pete, not much up. Let me see what else. Did you feel like smacking GG when you were? Yeah, I was. I'm. Yeah, John Crapper invented the crapper in England. Before then, crapper was a name. Yeah, for a guy that has so much money and has maybe not at first, but his life is pretty blessed, he's not doing much with it, in my judgment. So you're saying we have a chance? Any comments about TD merging with what, Schwab? Roy, I don't know. I'll quickly do a news story search and see, but it doesn't affect your situation. So you say there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance. Is there a max time limit to the U3? I don't know, but I was getting a sense that something might. Wow, 3-month T-bills for 5%. Nobody got. Hey, Skinny Whale. Somebody just said on here, Skinny, that there 4 to 6 other companies are in trouble with Alpine. Robert said that, and he's going to try to find the names. And I said I had to get back to Skinny Whale with names. Yeah, it's a waiting game, and then if it's me, and if I sold just to go, do another trade, I know I'd miss it. That's just me. Of course, it hasn't happened yet. UCAR, Skinny Whale, I guess was an IPO. Went as high as 75. I don't know how it's an IPO when it closed yesterday at 6, but I guess it was an IPO. Vocal closed at 15. That's progress. So I'm gonna play that call for Go Logic here in 20 minutes when it goes live, and then I may call it quits early just so I can take a quick nap, walk my dog, and then we can come back on at 8:30 for the Busy Brands call with Ham, or you can go to that site your own. My experience is Ham doesn't talk for more than half an hour or so, and then he gets off, and I would probably stop listening after Ham stopped talking. I think the volume's low on GTII because going back to sort of October, November time, I think Alpine took over the trade from the Kramers because they had botched it up so badly, and they were covering. I think the special dividend as a warrant was working. You all know the story. We all broke and went chasing another stock, so it came down. But I think in that period of when it was coming down, Alpine had already taken over the trade. Nobody knows for sure. You just got to read the tea leaves. But I think Alpine had taken over the trade as the prime broker because the Kramers were so underwater. During that period of time, the Kramers were almost losing $1 billion. So I think Alpine called in the troops to help drive it down. And there's apparently one group in Switzerland who has 19 million shares short, and they've been calling to try to cover. And this is new news. This was news from even almost 6 weeks ago or so. So I think what's happening is those sellers who came in to help Alpine don't want to sell anymore. They don't want to keep making it worse. They want to cover. And they're not finding it easy because the company's not going to do like COSM or CLNV or Rogers Company. They're not going to do a settlement with the shorts or a financing with the shorts. So it's kind of unique that way. So I think that's why the selling's gone, because they don't want to make their position worse, and they're trying to buy 19 million shares from the company. It's not going to happen. And then I do think that when there's very little volume, they can walk it down without much selling. So that might be going on, so they can get a starting point. If in a normal situation you call up, a COSM, and you say, well, we can give you money, but the stock price on the market's here. Why don't we do it at 40% discount? So maybe that's what they're hoping, is they can buy this all back at $1 or something, at a discount to the market. It's not going to happen, though. It's just not going to happen. So they're in trouble. They're in real, real trouble. Yeah, they could fold like a cheap lawn chair. Or a patsy at a poker table. I look like the nature boy, Ric Flair. I'm starting to get an idea of who he is, but frankly, I don't know who he is. And I've gone my whole life without knowing who he is. And I'd probably be just as happy to go through the rest of my life not knowing who he is. 154, 160. No real changes. She's a good-hearted woman in love with a good-timing man. That's nice. Too real for you. She's a good time. Yeah, I heard he's a wrestler, and I heard he yells whoop or something. Any news on that rat? You dirty rat. Yeah, to Schwab, Robert, it's... Look, in the middle of all of this, Morgan Stanley bought out E-Trade. It's a very important dream going on. Hey, Dan Shaheen. I know I need a nap. I need to... Oh, Steve, I don't know what you're referring to. I just heard something that can't be verified, so I don't want to give it credence until I know more. On the other hand, I think it's been out there so long that it makes sense, and I think it's possible that if there's something real, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's Monday. There's a lot setting up in GTII that could trigger events. Yeah, that's it. Ric Flair right there, lucky boy. He's all right. He got really anxious while I was gone. Really anxious. The 3-4 days I was gone. I come back, but so today I came back early because I don't like to see him distressed. Oh, 37 days before they become Schwab. Well, they'll still trade, and you can still trade, so I don't... There's Jenny L. So Jenny L is the one that's done so much work on Alpine data, and what a tangled web we weave when at first we try to deceive. Well, Woody, I understand the, it wasn't the oversight committee, it was the financial, what do you call it? The financial, well, maybe it had some of that in this title. But I personally, I wasn't expecting any immediate results. He was very happy to see me. And he was very anxious. He couldn't believe I was there. I don't know. So last night when I got back, we went on a long walk. And then I was on a space call. And then I got up really early this morning and took him on another long walk. Anyway, I don't know how you guys do it. I guess it's called a job. Financial oversight. You might be right. Yep. Yeah, too real for you. I think dogs are the best. And you know what was great? At Congress, these dogs would come into the office. There must have been at least 6 or 7 or 8 that I saw. And I would always say hi to... I'd say, hey, Congressman, you're my favorite. I'll vote for you. The joke never got old. But... there were some good dogs, really good dogs. Really good dogs. All right, 10 minutes to this call, and then I can take a nap. Wow, barbecue and beer, Dan? Dogs are better than people? Well, I think possibly they are. I think dogs teach us what Dale Carnegie used to try to teach, and my mother always said is ancient wisdom. But Dale Carnegie would teach, try to live in day-tight compartments, and he'd mean don't worry about the past, don't fret about the future. And I've never known a dog who worries for a minute about what's happened in the past. And I don't know too many dogs that spend a lot of time worried about what's going to happen in the future. On the other hand, they can get pretty anxious about things in the present. But they also are thankful, joyful for the smallest of things, which in the end of the day are the things that make life on this planet so worthwhile. Yeah, they're good boys and girls. Well, West Virginia, I agree with you. I mean, my own opinion, but I have to caution that I've been, there's been not several, but 2 or 3 times before over the last 2.5 years where I thought it was about to go. So, what's it worth? But I happen to agree with you. I think there's a lot setting up for it to run, and I think for GTII, I think you no longer have the idiot shorting. Alpine has in my view, has no ability to stop what's coming. There are some other companies that do the same thing Alpine does. I think one is called Vision or something out of Connecticut. But who's going to look at, somebody just put up here, the T-bills at 5%? The cost of carrying this stuff is really high. Anyway, I happen to agree with you. Yeah, permanent state of disappointment. Well, one thing, we'll listen to the Go logic, but it occurs to me, one thing you can do, maybe with a small, just 100 shares or 500 shares or 1,000 shares, you can, if you like what he says about Go logic, you can play that for a trade, or you can play one of the other stocks, Jeremy's stock for a trade, and just leave GTII set your orders, and when it goes, it goes. I'm confused, Skinny Whale. Anyone celebrating 420 today? See, now you've caught me out. Is it because I haven't been watching the news for 3 days? Yeah, keep your mood up. It must be pretty low otherwise. Well, LGIQ for months. I mean, Moody, the thing about stocks, I mean, if you're good at getting in and trading and not having to wait, and you can time and use people like Arca and Avid and others to be a trader, that's great. A lot of people don't have that skill. I don't have the time to sit in front of a computer. So investing very often is arbitrage. If you've studied it and you see the value, but it's selling cheaper, kind of like Warren Buffett does. Well, in this case, if logic is, and I won't bore you with all the reasons, I've done videos, but logic's at 46 cents. I don't think you paid more than 46 cents. But anyway, if logic, you've been in it for a few months, it hasn't really run. It had one run to 80 cents, but it's kind of hung out here. But you see it, as I do, as possibly being as valuable as $2 to $2.50 a share once they SPAC and de-SPAC and one becomes two, so to speak, which could happen by, according to the last call, by early June. That means record dates sooner than that. Record dates next month. But to go from, let's call it 50 cents to 250, I'm rounding up in both cases. That arbitrage, what's the deal? You got to wait. Time's your penalty. If you want to wait till it starts to run, and all of the knowledge, the risk of knowing what's going to happen is out of it, you might be paying $1.60 to see it go to 2.10. Anyway, it might be worth doing, because then you don't have to wait very long. You don't have to say, "Oh, I've been in it for months." But I think if Logic goes from what I think was a pretty typical price of 35 cents range to 2.30, that's $2. And yes, maybe you waited months, but to create value of $2 on 35 cents, 6 months, 7 months, I don't know how long you've been in it. I don't think you've been that long. Those are nice rates of return. But we'll see. That's the other side of it. There's no guarantees in the stock market. Hey, Edward, you're down on Logic? Well, the highest you could have paid was around 80 cents. So you could be down 50%. I think, not for nothing, but I think Logic will be $1 or thereabouts within the next 2 to 4 weeks. But it could take longer, and you could. There's always the possibility. All right, I got 3 minutes to sign into this. Let me see if I have the. All right, maybe what I got to do is just go to the website. No press releases. Maybe I can't get into this because I don't have the number. They're saying there's no news. Let me go to the website. It's always like this. I should have gotten this. Can't find the number. Let me see if he gave it to me. No. Ah, here. I got the dial-in number. 929-205-6099. God, that's complicated. 448-292-9875. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't tell anyone the password. The passcode is 124. Don't let them know. All right, let's see if I can get in. 929-205-6099.
Followed by pound.
Okay.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just please enter the meeting password followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. There are more than 30 participants in the meeting. You have been added to the waiting room. You cannot talk. This meeting is being recorded.
I'm one of 30. It's a lovely tune.
You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by
Mark,
pressing
let me
star
find out.
6.
I don't know
You
anything.
are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing star 6.
Thank you. I can't hear anything. $431. I wonder if I should redial in. Maybe I'll try again, because it should have started already. I'm going to try again just to be safe. So 929-205-6099.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Oh, it's Zoom?
You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound. You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Okay, I'll do it. Just chill out.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. Please enter the meeting password followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. There are more than 40 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing star 6. You have been added to the waiting room. You cannot talk or listen until you are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing star 6.
I'm gonna give it 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. 2 more minutes to gather the troops. There's a beautiful bird. Hey, lucky boy. Hey, lucky boy. DTMF codes can be detected. It's not secret. It was out in a press release. I was just being melodramatic. For the good times, don't look so sad. I know it's over.
Okay, I'm gonna get started.
I hope everyone can hear me. I'm also recording this so that the transcription can be made available as well for those who can't join us.
This is GoLogic, Brent's son.
I also have our corporate counsel on the line as well, because what I'm going to be talking about today, he's been working with me on. As the news flow has shown, GoLogic currently has one acquisition completed, Gamma Ray, and one in late stage of completion, Nest Egg, and then 5 other ones under letter of intent. We've also talked about a number of other strategic acquisitions underway as well. So we are looking to bulk up this year, and we have described that our intention is to aggregate over $15 billion in assets under management or advisory, get to over $100 million in revenues, and be profitable by year's end. We have an active New York Stock Exchange process underway. We have an investment bank, Craft Capital, engaged to uplist us. We have exchange listings, which is our uplisting advisor, and we have an S3 that was filed 2 weeks ago that we had hoped to use for the uplisting and then any subsequent strategic financing needs that are associated with the growth of the business. I had originally planned to discuss the pathway to liquidity for many of our shareholders via what's called Rule 144, and then certainly the S3 filing that we did 2 years ago. I'm sorry, two weeks ago. And along the way, I've also personally gotten verbal and written approval from roughly 70% of the shareholders to do an organized freeing up of the shares. However, this past month, we've seen some extremely unusual trading activity, which unfortunately involves what's called naked short selling. This is both improper and does violate U.S. securities laws. And when I requested the DTC list, which shows the movement from brokerage firms, and then the NOVO list, which shows the actual owners of those shares and where they own them, as of last Friday, it doesn't just appear. We have about a 12% overage in the number of shares that are actually in the float. That means that there is an actual naked short position in our stock. It's troublesome because it's unlikely that the trading party has or can acquire shares to cover this short position. And we believe that this party or parties are relying upon potentially unrestricted shares that will come due under Rule 144. So whether or not this person or persons intend to bring harm to the company or not, what they have done is they've created a scenario where any plans to uplist or complete our acquisitions is being greatly hindered. So what I've done is I've enlisted help to evaluate these trades and determine the next steps. So with this in mind, tomorrow we are voluntarily withdrawing the S3 shelf that we filed 2 weeks ago. That would have in effect allowed shares to become free trading via Rule 144. We're also going to postpone any potential filing of what's called an 8A12G, which also would have allowed Rule 144. And then the board will consider refiling the S3 or this 8A12G when the trading of our stock does not include an inappropriate level of short sale activity. We plan on being very aggressive in our efforts to combat illegal and improper naked short selling. And as some of you know, it's a very dubious practice that is the subject of federal securities laws, including Reg SHO, and we'll work with FINRA, federal authorities, and international securities regulators to try to take action against anyone who violates the law. One thing that counsel actually advised me not to do, but I'm going to do it anyway, is if anyone on the call or or anyone you know of that you believe knows who this is. I have over 1 million shares personally. I will give 500,000 shares to anyone who gives me information about who this is. So whether or not they're trying to harm the company or they're just trying to bring liquidity, what they've done in effect is they're hurting all of us. So no one can free up their shares until this gets solved. So in addition to pulling the S3 and indefinitely delaying the 144, what that's also done is it's going to push out any New York Stock Exchange uplisting. So if any of you have any idea who this is, you can let me know confidentially. The other thing that I've been advised against, but I'm going to say it anyway, is the other way we could bring them out is to short squeeze them. So tomorrow morning I'm going to be on an interview on YouTube with Bill Farron, and most of his 6,000 followers look at short squeezes. And frankly, if that happens, I'd be delighted. Our float is a little over 1 million shares, and about 700,000 of those shares are held by people who I know. And so we have, in effect, a 300,000 share float. Something like that is extremely easy to move. And if we squeeze these people and it goes to $10 or $15 or $20, well, they'll have a margin call or they'll have to get bought in. So either that's going to happen or someone's going to have to let me know anonymously who it is, or they're going to have to stop. Otherwise, everything is off the table. I feel terrible about this, but the actions of this one person or persons are hurting all of you. So right now, I'll take whatever questions I can, and for the rest of you guys, if you want to email me or CMA, that's great.
I don't know how to ask a question.
One question I have is, if all the proposed and announced GoLogic deals were closed today, would the company be cash flow positive? Yes, we would. We'd be at about 120 million in revenues, 15 billion in assets, and we'd be cash flow positive. Anyone else? You can send me a message on the message chat. I'll give you guys a few minutes if you're not too familiar with it.
I'm not familiar with it. How do you do it? I don't know how to do it, so we'll ask our questions tomorrow morning. What?
Okay, here's one. Assuming you get to the bottom of who is shorting and you sort it out, how long to get back on track? Well, that's easy. Refiling an S3 is a 30-minute exercise. So we can get back on track, and we are in the NYSE process as we speak. So getting back on track can be done within a day. But until we find out what's going on, everything's off the table.
Wow, it's powerful.
Other than this shorting BS, what are the final steps to get to New York Stock Exchange listing? Price, small underwriting. Actually, we currently fulfill all of the criteria to uplist to the NYSE except for the $15 million float, which would have been achieved by a combination of registering a percentage of everyone's shares that I had hoped to put out into a formal plan to everyone, but it got derailed by this past 2 weeks' activities. And then, in addition to that, Kraft Capital was going to do a 100% retail stock-only offering of only $3 million to additionally qualify us. So I'm not saying it's an easy or smooth ride, but we do fulfill all the criteria and would have with the appropriate plan in place that we had mapped out. Do you have any immediate plans for any further additions to the GoLogic board? Yes, we do. I think as most of you know, we've got 3 independent non-execs on there now: Granger Whitelaw, Candace Beaumont, and Peter Bordas. We also have 2 strategic board advisors, Sim Farrar, who's with us on this call and is one of the UN representatives in the United States and has a very very highly regarded career in public service. We also have James Keyes, who is the former global CEO of 7-Eleven. I think two men of that caliber would not have joined if they did not see the potential upside here. And it really pains me to see 4 months of some very dramatic and aggressive work being done only to be derailed by the actions of one or two people. What is the expected outstanding shares, assuming all the acquisitions are completed? What we had mapped out, if we complete all of the acquisitions, the total number of shares would be approximately about 170 million shares. But if you're looking at, if you look at public comps on the asset management and on the fintech side for companies that manage money, have online apps for savings and investing and other fintech products. If you look at the valuation metrics, that would equate to a market cap on that number of shares outstanding that would still come out to a value of about $5 to $6 per share. So there is upside here, and we're not too far from a $2 qualification for NYSE, but as long as this short seller is sitting on it, we're not going to make it. And I don't want to do a reverse split. And I think most everyone on this call who's familiar with them also does not want to see that. Let's see, can we expect an updated slide deck so we can see all the pieces together? Yes, I have one, and I was actually going to put that out this week until this came about. Let me see about what I can do to share it, but unfortunately, some of the acquisition targets we had lined up without a clear path to New York Stock Exchange, they and I think everyone else on this call, and especially myself, do not want to be part of a company that is doomed to the pink sheets and is relatively illiquid.
Exactly.
Thanks for the update. How long do we have to be at $2 a share to uplist? I'm sorry, for uplist to resume. It's not necessarily just a question of the $2, Collins. It is being able to increase liquidity and not have an overhang that's evident and out there. I think that we were trading very nicely up until a few weeks ago when we followed the S3 and the short selling started to come on. And look, when I went through the DTC sheets last week, it showed 9,200 shares that had traded and changed hands between all the brokerage firms on DTC. But we traded over 60,000 shares last week. So where was that other 50,000 plus shares? That is naked short selling. Okay. I had someone to go out today who's a professional investor and has a very large hedge fund to see if they could borrow our shares legally. You can only get a borrow on 5,000 shares. So with around 153,000 shares sold short, how is that possible? And if it's a real fund that is trying to establish a short position here, what's the most they could hope to get off? 200,000, 300,000 shares? If we went to zero, what is that, $600,000 in profits? That is not the target of a large predatory fund. That is something that is either a small, relatively unsophisticated group that paints themselves as a fund, but is really not. Okay, or it's someone who has 144 paper, and look, I get it. Okay, you look at it and you say, all right, well, if the 144 restrictions come off for everyone, I want to be first out. I have a mechanism for doing that. I'm going to do it. Well, you know what? You're screwing it up for everyone else. So you're fucking up our ability to uplist, and you're also messing up the ability to do a number of other things that we put in place. Apologies to anyone who is offended by the F word, but I am furious about this, because what we've done in 4 months is what most companies take years to do, and to be derailed like this makes me extremely angry. And you all should be too. If you know who it is, even if it's a friend, you should tell them you need to stop and you need to unwind that position. Or if you want to call me confidentially, I will issue you 500,000 shares of my shares for this. Okay? I am serious about this, and I hope you all are too, because we will go nowhere until this is sorted out. Okay, a couple more. What type of growth are you looking for over the next few years? I think if we only achieve 50% of the acquisitions that we've mapped out, layering in the growth plan we have with some of the fintech businesses, we could attain a 35 to 40% growth rate for the next 5 years. And so with 15 billion under management, doing over 100 million in revenues and being profitable, on the NYSE, I think that makes us capable of commanding a very enviable market cap. And if we can line up acquisitions of this nature while we're on the pink sheets, think of what we can do when we're on the NYSE. But we won't get a chance unless this gets solved. And so, am I serious about it? Yes. And I really hope you all are too. So if anyone has any idea who's doing it, or if you were on this call, I encourage you to unwind that position and let things take their course. You'll get your liquidity when we're on the NYSE. But for right now, you are screwing this up for 2,700 shareholders and about 600 shareholders whom I know. And also friends and family of theirs and of mine. And I take that extremely seriously. So I appreciate you guys being patient over this past year and participating in the call. But I'll tell you, if you're going to be upset with anyone, it's whomever is perpetrating this. And again, if you have any idea or if you have ways of finding out, I encourage you to do so, because we'll go nowhere until this gets solved. So with that, thanks everyone. If you have any questions, reach out. It may take me a little while to get back. I got 618 emails over 2 days over the weekend, so things are a little slow. But once we get this sorted, we'll be back on track in a heartbeat. Thank you very much, and all the best.
That's great. Ted Williams, I don't know anything about B, and Y, but let me see what's going on. $0.30. Let's see. Will GTII be dead in volume till the 29th? I don't think so, Joe. But it could be. I think it's much more mechanical why there's been low volume. And number one, all the volume's fraudulent anyway. But to the extent that they've stepped back from criminally counterfeiting, printing fake shares, I think it's because Alpine's in trouble. I think there's a group that was aiding Alpine, which Alpine probably said, we'll cover your losses if there are any. And it turns out there are going to be. And it looks like these people are upset. They're out of Switzerland, reportedly, 19 million shares, and they want to cover. They've called the company to try to cover. And the answer is, it's not for sale. This isn't COSM. This isn't CNLV. This isn't other stocks. GTII is going to make it very difficult for these people to cover. And I think the reason the volume is low, they don't want to make it worse. Finally, and how quickly do they go to actually having to buy it back? I don't know what that noise possibly can be. It sounds like a cement mixer. So the 52-week range on BBBY is 23 to 30. Average volume is 99 million shares. The market cap is 128 million. Why Bed and Bath Beyond crashed today? crash and burn today. This is a waste of time. That BBBY. It's just a waste of time. April 20th, Eric Volkman, The Motley Fool. I don't know why I'm doing this, because it's a complete waste of time. There's no reason to be in this stock. Key points. It didn't seem as if things could get any worse for the retailer, which is apparently preparing to file for bankruptcy protection. Stocks get wiped out in bankruptcy. You remember one of the companies, it was a rent-a-car, what declared bankruptcy, Hertz, and the stock actually went up. That was completely ridiculous. They could make that filing this weekend, tomorrow. Thursday was generally a lousy day for stocks, but proved to be an outright disaster for the unfortunate holders of Bed Bath & Beyond, down 35%. Following Wednesday's media reports of impending bankruptcy filing, even worse speculation came down the pike the following trading session. As a result, the troubled retailer stock price crumbled more than 35%. In bankruptcy, it'll go to zero. Now, maybe they'll be trading the way it happened in Hertz, there's an idiot rally. But in bankruptcy, equity gets wiped out. So what? An odd, brief bull run on Bed Bath & Beyond came to a crashing halt on Thursday. Previously, contrarian investors had traded the stock up after a Bloomberg report the previous day about a bankruptcy filing. After market hours that day, the Wall Street Journal published its own update on the matter, adding that the retailer is preparing such a filing for submittal as early as this weekend. The financial newspaper cited unidentified people familiar with the matter as saying that its withered share price makes it prohibitively difficult to raise sufficient funding to avoid a default situation. Bed Bath & Beyond had launched an effort to raise $300 million in equity funding by next Wednesday, April 26th, the date on which it's obligated to file its 10K annual report with the SEC. According to the Wall Street Journal, as of April 10th, the company had scared up only $48.5 million. Now what? Bed Bath & Beyond is becoming one of the poster boys for the retail apocalypse that continues to claim victims. At this point, there seems to be little way forward for the company as a functioning entity. No wonder investors are quickly abandoning this sinking ship. Respectfully, it's 4:57. You can't do anything tonight. But 30 cents? You won't see 30 cents again unless there's idiotic buying that's irrational. Or, anyway, there's no reason to be in BBBNY. I don't want to spend any more time on it. The stock is going to go to zero. Jenny, I don't know those. I'm not going to read it out loud. I don't know which firms you're talking about. When did the word get out concerning the 19 million shares with the Swiss? Just in full disclosure, Mimont just hang on, Mimont. Just hang on. Here's one of the posts on the nose. Good desk. Utah, we have a problem. The Swiss are in a panic. GTII, just the tip of the iceberg. 19,028 shares number you need to cover. You may not believe it, but that's all right. You don't have to. I am working on getting a voice recording of a naked short telling an elderly woman to hurry and sell your GTII stock. You know it's already been passed on to the authorities. Looking for size. Yes, 19 million. They've been bidding people upstairs for size. Pedro, who's really talented. Yes, looking for size. Wow. Big number, yet they are calling to try and cover 19 million 3 days in a row. Utah has a big problem. And your name will be soon known. Don't forget our Swiss cheese partner. I don't know why I'm dedicating so much time to answering this question, but I will find. All right. Utah's client home base. 19 million naked shorts lives there. Not for long. Utah, how is your client feeling these days? Eating a lot of Swiss cheese? I will get the name of the buyers from Utah. They want to steal. We will expose them. 19 million short. The FBI, DOJ, SEC. We will help you. Hey, Utah. 19 million, hard to find. Good luck, we all know. Anyway, I don't know how much more I need to show you. 2 days ago. Remember that story about 19 million trying to cover? Some more color on that story. They are rumored to be out of Utah. Some group is having a real problem. All right, that's enough on the 19 million. You can believe it or not, but I trust the source, Ham Short Killer, so that's where I get it from. You're welcome, Mimon. There goes the Swiss retirement machine. I can try to explain what's going on with GTII. Yes, Mimon. Just get out of BBY. You're going to get, if you want to put it in something, put it in MMAT, which might go down too. But there's no reason to hold on to BBBY. None. You might get a dead cat bounce if you're lucky, but I would just get out and never look back. Yes, you would, Barry, you can get the dividend because the record date was the 14th. They're going to be distributed on the 29th. You can get out, Barry. Remember, the whole point of the dividend isn't so much that it's exciting to get a 10% restricted share dividend. You won't be able to trade it for 6 months probably. We don't know the number. The whole point is to try to trap out the shorts. But if you're tired of waiting, I strongly recommend that while it's trading 150, 160, 170, 180 and there's volume, there's other stocks to buy. You can buy GoLogic for the same price. You can buy 3 times the number of shares in Logic. You can buy I don't know, MMAT if you want. You can buy, go buy Vocal, go buy Rogers Company, I can't remember. Go buy all sorts of other things you can get into. Go buy a mutual fund. But yes, you can sell tomorrow and get the dividend. You can sell on Monday and get the dividend. You can sell on Tuesday and get the dividend. You can sell on Wednesday. I don't recommend it, but I don't know your specific situation, so I can't give you personal advice. So yes, you can sell it at $1.50 tomorrow, get your 10% dividend, and get out of the waiting game. There's other stories out there. Why not GTII? What do you mean, William Lefebvre? I like GTII, and I think GTII. I had dinner last night with Ham, and one of the people at the table asked him, "Do you believe in GTII? Should I buy it?" And Ham said, "Well, I can't give you advice. I don't know your situation. But let me put it this way. If you have control over your father's money, buy it for him." He was being a little bit facetious, but I think GTI is the best setup out there. I mean, do I have to run back through it all? You got one trap short who's an idiot. They're upside down. They've been selling the stock up, not down like normal. There's huge losses in the trade. Alpine came in, took over the trade. All of this is in our best judgment. Only person that could find this out for real is Gary Gensler. But he's checking out Kim Kardashian's voluptuous photographs. One trap short. I think 325 million shares created out of thin air. You don't believe it? The FINRA data is false. They're obviously borrowing the shares from somewhere. From whom? From whom are they borrowing these shares? Well, maybe the people that have restricted shares, well, they can't borrow those. Well, maybe the people that have them in their account, the whales, are just letting their shares be lent out. No, they're not. No, they're not. Well, maybe the CEO's lending out his share. No, he isn't. Maybe there's a financing in place that protects the short. No, there isn't. Well, maybe they've already been covering. No, they haven't. It's very likely 350 million shares that have to be bought back. Say I'm wrong. You can't tell that tale. Can't trust FINRA numbers. You can't just add up the day-to-day. It's obvious they're borrowing it from somewhere. It's obviously somebody's selling. You don't know. Maybe it's an offshore. I don't know. Be as negative as you want. There is 1 million, almost 1 million in the real share short, and there's posted in court documents that the NSCC has sanctioned Alpine, and FINRA wants to disbar them, if I'm using the right words, because of a concentrated short position in a stock they named GTII. Well, how many shares does it get them to get in trouble? I don't know. Maybe it's not 325 million. Maybe it's 100,000. We don't know. But it's a big number. Ignore all those numbers. There is a trade. They called into the company. They tried to buy 19 million shares. That's been around for about 6 weeks to 8 weeks. Haven't covered. Well, imagine if the seller is Alpine and they stop selling, Kramer's are done, and they have to buy 19 million shares. The company isn't going to do a COSM deal or a CLNV deal. The company is not going to do a reverse split. The company is not going to sell stock to the Kramers. The company is not going to work against you, and they are going to make sure the shorts hurt. I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you about GTII. But, A, you've been waiting too long. Well, I've been waiting almost 2.5 years. And I certainly could have traded much better by getting out, like Barry wants to do, get out, maybe buy it lower. That's been a winning strategy for over 2 years. I didn't do it, so I can't tell you how to do that. Why didn't I do it? Because I never saw this stock as a trading vehicle. I saw it as a stock that's going to have a short squeeze that's going to be massive. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You've got Trento Mines. They've been working on it for 2 years. In September, I heard that deal was at the finish line. Time goes by, stock price gets hit, shorts do everything they can. It's high-level banking, high-level interest rates go up, all sorts of things. But it's still moving forward. Trento Mines, lithium, billions of dollars. All of a sudden, if that gets acquired by GTII, it's a big number. The Kramers can't seller box GTII stock price. They can't drive it into oblivion like people are trying to do with MMAT. Like after HPIL settled with the Kramers amicably with an attorney's help, HPIL goes down to 0.000001 or whatever the number is, that it's effectively seller boxed, which means, help me, I've fallen and I can't get up. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, if you're impatient, get out. You see it as a trading vehicle, trade it. I'm not a diamond hands guy. That's what makes markets. You want to get out, get out. You want to sell here at 150 and hope you can buy back at $1, do it. But you run the risk that there's news on Trento Mines. You run the risk that there's news on 1-800 Law Firm. You run the risk that finally one of these special dividends grabs hold and the back offices start buying back the counterfeit shares. You run the risk that there's a distribution of a dividend on upstream that catches out all the brokerage firms. You run the risk that the 19 million shares, if they're bought back, starts a domino effect, and as the price goes up, other firms start buying in. But, you know best, Sybil. If I find out that you bet on that horse Dragonfly, you know best, Sybil. It came in. Oh, Barry, the Alpine decision is under review until July. So what? But that's what makes a market, Barry. I don't think it has any relevance to this. Do you think the decision is going to go in Alpine's favor? Do you think that if there's a favorable, another delay, that people are going to want to sell through Alpine? Do you think that as the FBI investigates the people who sold stock at Westpac and stiffed the firm $2.5 to $4 million, that people are going to, any firm, whether it's Alpine or Vision or anybody's going to want to take orders in GTII? Do you think, Barry, that the rat, so to speak, the whistleblower that's coming in to talk to Wes and the FBI, as I understand it, do you think he's going to be divulging wiring instructions, accounts, names, phone numbers? Do you think that's going to be a good thing for Alpine and the shorts? But Barry, really, you're good at trading. Do what you want to do. You have the dividend. Sell it at $1.50 tomorrow. Buy it. Try to put orders in at $1 and try to buy it back, or move on to a different stock. I can't give you advice, and you obviously, I think you obviously know how to trade better than I do. But the hardest thing is to know when to sell, and you've done some round trips in the stock very successfully. So I'm not going to say that you're wrong, but I will say I feel like you're more lucky than smart. And I'm not picking on your brains. I'm just saying that the trades have been more lucky than smart trades. But, hey, money's money and not fade away. Money is money and not fade away. Well, you think there's going to be more adjournments and the regulars? Okay. You could be right. There's going to be more adjournments, more delay, and therefore Alpine's going to be in a really strong position to continue facilitating orders in a short trade that is stupid on its face, underwater in evidence, in trouble, and the Kramers no longer can do it. So they're obviously going to keep doing it, because GTII, I mean, what does GTII have? Oh, they might have Trento mine that could come in. Yeah, but it won't. It hasn't yet, so it won't. 1-800 law firm could come in. Yeah, but it's been going on forever, and they've been auditing forever, so that's not going to happen. They were going to buy CRTD. That fell through. There's no chance in hell those two entities will ever do a deal again. That's not going to happen. West Christian has filed a lawsuit. He's not going to find anything. There's no way he's going to find anything. He's working with Fintel. No way they're going to find anything. And the regulators won't do anything if they find it. So that's a dead end. West Christian's lawsuit is going to be packaged up as a blockchain dividend and given to all shareholders soon. They're just waiting on a final ruling by a judge to make sure that the court case remains in the court system. That's not going to happen. They're going to get away with it. That's never going to happen. Okay, that'll never happen. The digital dividend's going to be listed on Upstream to try to catch out the system. 325 million fake shares trying to get a seat on the bus when the music stops. That's never going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. It's never going to happen. Just get out. Trade out at 150. I got my 10% dividend. I'm just going to get out. Get back in. Yeah, it may work. It's worked for 2.5 years, that strategy. I can't fault your strategy. I mean, clearly, the fact that there's shorts calling in, as I just read to you, that they have on tape, to an elderly woman to panic her in a nursing home, to panic her out of 3 million shares. That shows strength on the part of the shorts, not weakness. That doesn't show they're desperate. It shows they're good. And the regulators will do nothing. FBI won't do anything. West Christian's going to get nowhere. I better get out at $1.50. But whoever asked me, I don't agree with that theory at all. I personally take everything I just said to you, and I believe that GTII is on the verge of a dramatic move upward. It might not happen, but the stock has been defrauded. The company's been defrauded. You have been defrauded, and I think there's going to be a buy-in. Am I right? Haven't been right so far. So I think Barry's strategy might be the right way. Get out at $1.50, try to buy it back at $1. That might be the right way to do it for some of you. For me, I think it's a completely penny foolish strategy. But I've been wrong. I've been completely wrong. Barry's been right. I've been wrong. But I think one morning you're going to wake up and you will find, I think you're going to wake up one morning or turn on the screen one morning, it's $5, then it's $8, then it's $12, then it's $21, then it's $34. And your chance of being able to buy it at $1 is going to disappear as quickly as the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop. Well, Barry's right. He says thinking like I'm doing is different than banking profits. Bank away. Bank away. And I'm admitting, Barry's been correct. He's done this now several times where at least he said it here, where he's bought low and sold high, and then the stock's down. So, and obviously all the reasons why the stock is up could all be wrong. I've told you that in any stock like this, the time to get out is when there's volume. And just don't, murder the alternative. Once you get out, murder the alternative. If it goes up, forget about it. At least you booked a profit. If I had done Barry's strategy right now, by now I'd own all my shares for free. So there are those of you who poo-poo Australian table wines. Yeah, it might be time to take Lucky for a walk. MMTLP has made this offer and created a shelf for capital. They could just sold the MMTLP and had capitalization. That's it. That's interesting. Not so average, honestly. William Lefebvre. It's a great name. I know I'm mispronouncing it, but it's a good name. I sold early the last squeeze, and it ruined my life for a month. The Bluebird will swing. Well, there's a good point. See, what Barry's doing is, he says here, he was hurt by MMTLP, and he's making my losses back flipping GTII. Well, I find two problems with that statement. Of course, I'm doing the thinking, not the banking. MMTLP, you haven't lost any money in it yet. It's not trading. But I literally think the worst case scenario is they just unwind the trades and you get your money back. How do you lose on that? Time, yeah, you lose time. Opportunity, yeah, you lose opportunity. But it's not a loss. But I think you're going to make much more than that. I don't think that's going to be the settlement. And flipping GTII is a strategy. And I hope it works. I really do. I will admit, I hope in, 3 weeks, 3 months, I can say, well, how did that flipping go? Meanwhile, the GTII has gone to, $30, $40, $50. I don't know. Yeah, sorry, William. I'm being too sarcastic. Let me just be clear to you, William. I think that GTII is the best short squeeze setup out there right now. The biggest reason is that the company is not going to pull a financing like COSM did or CNLV did. The company is not going to make a settlement, amicable settlement with the Kramers the way HPIL did. These are among the main reasons, I think, that the squeeze, once it starts, will be allowed to run. So I don't think there's a better place to be than GTII. Eric, I don't believe in 1-800-Lawyers or Upstream doing much for the squeeze. If you were wealthy and had a serious lawsuit to deal with, you would get a reputable law firm or someone from 1-800-Lawyers. I don't think Upstream makes the squeeze happen as a dual listing, but I do think if there's a distribution that then is trading on Upstream, your brokerage firms can't stuff your account, just like with the distribution of the warrant. Until everyone ran away from it, it was trapping the street. But there was a better stock to be in. Obviously, the person that representing it was saying, hey, they're going to reverse split. They're going to change their name. They're going to change the CUSIP number. Obviously, there's going to be a squeeze. It's a huge squeeze. Was any of that true? Either the person didn't know what they were talking about, or they were being misleading, or they were misleading. It was either intentional or not. But upstream, if it's a distribution where, just making up, maybe there's 50 million shares in the float, maybe it's more, and there's 450 million or 400 million seats on the stage. The music stops. 50 million shares have a place to go with that digital dividend. 300 million don't. 350 million don't. And they have to, the broker dealers can't stuff your account with fake distributions, fake blockchain distributions by definition. So they have to go buy the real shares. That starts the squeeze. But yeah, in a nursing home, Moody Waters. The regulators control the investment portfolios of 1%. It's going to be hard for the regulators to regulate themselves. I agree with that, Barry. I don't count on the regulator. There's no friends out there. No one. The only people in your situation where you can make money, the only company I know of where management 100%, other than what I just heard Brent say today, massive what Brent's doing with GoLogic and I'm sure Logic, massive. But the only other company that I can actually say, wow, I trust the decision making going on there is GTII. But hey, I know Thon Lee, they were talking about removing Gary Gensler. I don't think it'll change anything. Goldman Sachs will just get somebody else in there to cover for them. This idea of self-regulation it's a stupid idea that Bill Clinton signed into law. What dividend was he talking about? Oh, he was talking about the restricted stock dividend where you get one restricted share for 10 that you own. And that record date was on the 14th. And the effective date, the distribution date, is supposed to be the 29th, which hasn't come yet. It'll be the 28th because the 29th is Saturday. That's next Friday. So when he sells his shares at $1.50 tomorrow, banking his profits, he will also still get one share restricted stock per 10 shares he sells. So, it adds to his profits. 9 SEC delays in DBMM. It is also Alpine Kramer. DBMM is how we found out that Alpine was Kramer's prime broker. I don't know her title, but the CEO is a fighter. She's very good. But the Kramers and others have shorted DBMM possibly to the point where it can't get up off the mat. The Kramers actually sued DBMM. And DBMM filed and fought back. Does DBMM have the same management as GTII? No. Does DBMM have the whales as investors that GTII has? No. Has DBMM done special dividends and distributions and tried to trap out the shorts time and time again? No, not as far as I know. Does DBMM have a burn rate, therefore they have to go to the markets for money? I think so. Does GTII? No. But hey, DBMM is down. It's Alpine, it's the Kramers, therefore GTII is going to be down. Complete non sequitur in my view, but hey, if it works, that's as good analysis as any. Well, Green Thumb Industry, William Lefebvre, it's interesting you bring that up. That is what GTII was. And now, I'm so slow, William. It just occurred to me that's what GTII initially stood for. They call it Global Tech Industries, but maybe they started with the idea that it's Green Thumb Industries. But anyway, there was a naked, criminal short in that stock, and there was a guy on Wall Street, from Wall Street, who did an analysis over a year ago. And his analysis of the short position, of course, everyone can debunk it. Oh, you can't rely on those numbers and that number and that number. The only person that can get an accurate number is Gary Gensler. He won't do it. He doesn't care about over-the-counter. It's no threat to Goldman Sachs. So anyway, the guy came up with a number over 400 million shares, and that was over 150 million shares ago. But hey, DBMM is an Alpine and a Kramer, and they've been able to sell it down. So, obviously they're going to be able to sell GTII down. Eric, I think the 1 for 10 dividend is going to make things happen. Next week they may have to buy 30 million shares. Well, there you go. So, Eric, obviously it's not, I'm being sarcastic, obviously it's not going to do anything. It's just useless. The Kramers killed DBMM, so they're going to kill it here. You better get out. Well, on the other hand, if there's a short position of 325 million, somebody has to buy back 32.5 million shares. Well, actually, to get the distribution, they got to buy back the whole 300 and whatnot. That would cause a squeeze, but obviously it's not going to happen. Regulators aren't going to step in. But that's the whole idea, Eric, is to try to make that happen. It's to try to make that happen. But just look at the 19 million shares. Just say Farron's full of shit. And just look at the 19 million shares. Oh, but that could just be that you can't trust those rumors, and the Kramers always win, and Alpine always wins, and well, we know it's 19 million shares, and if you add in the almost 1 million shares in the real short, it's 20 million shares. Where are they going to come up with the 2 million restricted shares there? They got to buy back 20 million shares. 2 million restricted shares at $1.50 is $3 million. But 20 million shares at $1.50, of course it won't go up because, the Kramers and Alpine, look what they did to DBMM. It's always going to go down even if we have to buy back 20 million shares. Better bank my profit. I think if the error department of that Swiss family office or whoever it is starts buying back at 30 million and simultaneously Alpine is unable to sell and FBI's looking, it could be $5 before you know it. It could be $10 before you know it. It could be 20, 30, 40. The SEC has been washed by Congress. They are in water too. Barry's going to hold GTII to July and selling again if the SEC delays again 90 days. Yeah, why not? They'll just get more adjournments, Moody Waters says. Barry says everything I'm saying, I think he's saying everything I'm saying is speculation. It's possible. It's definitely possible. Sam S., what's your thoughts on the dividends if they won't force the shorts to cover? And what's the next move in your opinion? Look, they're just going to keep issuing dividends until it bites. It's not true that the dividends won't work. I'm telling you, the special dividend as a warrant was working at Thanksgiving. Fidelity was paying 1,000% to borrow real shares because of it. Wells Fargo had pulled the buy button, rumored. Every brokerage firm was slow walking the exercise of the warrants. Then 3 guys came to you, whether they were paid or not, whether they knew what they were doing or not. And I think if they didn't know what they're doing, that's even worse than if they did, if you're following advice. They got everyone FOMOing out, panicking, and the stock price went down, let up the pressure on Wall Street. Well, just because that happened, that means just because some Pied Pipers got everyone to pipe, doesn't mean that the idea of special dividends don't work. It was working. It'll work again. But it's not happening now. I've been in it, and if it doesn't happen by July, I'm getting out. Okay, get out. Don't wait anymore. I mean, right now, frankly, you could get out now. $1.50, there's several stocks you can go in that have a lot of upside potential. You don't know if those stocks will be available in 90 days. So, can't tell you, stay in it. The lawsuit, not the squeeze, 2 separate events. William, lawsuit, not the squeeze. Lawsuit, not the squeeze. Lawsuit, not the squeeze. Yeah, well, there are 2 different events. The lawsuit's being run by Wes Christian. He's not going to settle the way other law firms have ended up doing with the Kramers. You never know when the squeeze is going to come. You don't know when it's going to come. Did Alpine get another extension? Look, Alpine is in a court. FINRA said they want to disbar, whatever the word is, Alpine. Alpine came and filed, hey, you don't have any constitutional grounds. You're a fake SRO. You don't have the Constitution doesn't allow you to get rid of us. That's the basis of their argument. And the lawyers have gone in with crap after crap after crap. And the court system moves slowly. So the extensions maybe allow people to continue to sell GTII. But your eyes aren't telling you that there's trouble in the stock. You hear about 19 million shares they're trying to buy back. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. Even if Alpine got shut down, they'd move all the trades over to Vision. What matters is that that smell. Can't you smell that smell? The smell of death surrounds you. GTII, they're going to stay away from taking the orders. FBI, price goes up. Anyway, I'm just repeating myself, and it gets me frustrated. Justice L, if the shorts in MMTLP did not cover, why would the shorts in GTI? The shorts in GTI will not cover, Justice. They will not cover. They will not cover, Justice. They're not going to put a gun in their mouth and pull the trigger. They're not going to take their foot off the landmine. However, in the case of the Swiss group, who's probably more professional, risk management professional than the Kramers, it may be taken out of the hands of the people that actually shorted the stock. It may be on the risk mitigation side of the firm. Buy that in. We don't want to carry the position anymore. The error accounts will buy it in. The compliance officers will buy it in. The people that own the firm will say, get us the F out of this trade. They'll buy it in. Or the company goes down because they lose so much, and then the regulators never do anything. Well, when a company goes down, they step in. They got to liquidate it. They buy in. The shorts won't do it. And they didn't do it in MMTLP. They didn't have a chance to. FINRA stopped trading. How do you know the shorts wouldn't have covered on Friday and on Monday? They didn't have a chance. Again, I think it's a complete non sequitur. The shorts didn't cover. They drove it down on Wednesday and Thursday. They thought there was going to be trading on Friday and Monday. And who's to say they didn't have a plan to go in and cover on those days? FINRA stopped trading. The one doesn't have a thing to do with the t'other. Risk is how you make money. Alpine decision is under review until July. Wasn't Alpine going for dismissal this week? Do they have until the end of business tomorrow? I really don't think if they get a dismissal, if they still exist, it's been published, they're deficient. They're in trouble because of a concentrated position in GTII they haven't covered. Well, maybe you think, oh, well, they covered somehow. Did you see it in the trading? I didn't. So that means they have no chance for dismissal. I don't know. I don't think it matters if it's dismissed or not dismissed. It's a broken firm. I don't think they're going to get a dismissal. I think the judge is just slowly letting them hang themselves, and she's probably giving them time to cross off every single thing so they can't appeal the final doomsday. But doomsday's coming for Alpine. Barry Crouch, nothing happens until Alpine is killed. In the meantime, Alpine is a great swing trade. Well, a completely unprovable first part of that statement, that nothing happens until Alpine is killed, if you want to assume that is true, possibly whatever the hell a swing trade is, in other words, buy low, sell high, and then buy low again and sell high again, and do it in a trading range, yeah, okay, it might be great. Thank you, Da Hobbler. Da Hobbler. Da Hobbler. Why wouldn't big institutions get in on this and help sit over the 350 mark? Well, my opinion on that, William Lefebvre, is they will come in, but they probably won't come in now. They won't even come in at 350. They'll probably come in at 5, 10, 15. They're more than willing to overpay to get in the trade if the trade is happening now, or it's going to be tomorrow. They don't want to come in early because they have to perform. They have to hit their numbers every week, every month. That's how they get their bonuses. They'd much rather overpay to have a trade that works right away so they can book the profit than buy it inexpensively and wait like we're doing. Remember, trading is in essence an arbitrage. If you believe that your due diligence has sussed out a value in a stock, GTII, my reasoning is it should be $30. And it's not. And I think there's going to be a short squeeze to take it there and maybe much higher. Well, I'll come in at 50 cents, $1, $1.50, and it could be any time. I'll be a hero. But oh gosh darn it, it's been 2.5 years. Well, that is the arbitrage. It's 2.5 years. These big boys don't want, and girls, it's mostly boys, they don't want to wait all that. That's dead money. They have other trades they can do. They have other things they can do to make money. They don't see it the way most of us do. Hey, I'm in the stock, I'm underwater, I can't sell. They don't see it that way. They see it, hey, I'm just in the market to make money. Which horse is running faster in which race? And if that horse is not, I'll hop on the other horse. And that one falls, I'll hop over on the other horse. They're just trying to make money. They don't care which stock they do it in. So they would much rather pay $10 a share if it's going to run to 70 in the next 48 hours, then pay $150 now and have to wait 6 months. So that's my opinion. Moody Waters, I saw that meme, and the only reason I haven't commented on it is pictures like that showed up before World War II, and they were not appropriate. And I still don't think they're appropriate. And I think that meme runs the risk. It's clever, but it really runs the risk of delving into a stereotype that's unfair. So I didn't comment on it. David Hensley is a breast man. He should run the SEC. Barry Crouch, I heard over $1 billion. I think you're right. If you're talking MMTLP, 2+ years of counterfeits. Well, I think it's longer because I think some of the counterfeiting got in place with Torchlight, but maybe I'm misunderstanding that. But yeah, I've heard it's $1 billion. Yeah, William Lefebvre. In Russian, the R is the R, but in French it's somehow behind. What's wrong with him? He spoke French. It's somewhere down in your throat. I get all confused. Da Habler, the market is garbage. You know, do you think I enjoy this? I was up at dinner last night and over the last few days listening to stories about GTII, about MMTLP, about people whose daughters are hurt, families in trouble. And it is awful. And, people have different trading strategies. I flare up FLARE, not FLAIR. I flare up sometimes and I get frustrated. But, I was talking, who was I talking to? Maybe Ham this morning. I'm not making any money doing this. He said last night at dinner, money's not what motivates him anymore. The guy used to make 10, 15, 20,000 a day trading. There's something else driving him now, which I know, but it's his story to tell. And there's a song, I Am Sincere. I'm trying to remember the lyrics. But anyway, I shouldn't have to say it, but the reasons I gave were sincere. First, I tried to help Ham. Now, it's gathered, from one acorn, a massive tree has grown. And I'm not taking credit. I think all good things come from above. I wouldn't be surprised if the good Lord is guiding this. But then the second thing is, I didn't want people to get hurt by these criminals. I didn't want people to FUD out of the shares. Now, if people get out because they want to bank the profit and they're better at trading than I am, I have no objection with that. They want to get out because they're tired of holding, I have no objection with that either. I just didn't want people to be panicked out by the liars and the devils who call themselves Wall Street experts. And now the stories, you know, I told the story at, I forget where, but I did Christmas in April once, years ago. I was invited, and there was I'm going to stop reading all those questions. There was a, we were given a house. Christmas is April, is a bunch of do-gooders descend on a house, and they're going to fix it up for the person, the elderly person who lives there. Fix up the plumbing, fix up holes in the wall, replace a window, paint the house, all manner of things, replace the front porch steps. Well, what was surprising to me, it was here in D.C., in one of the neighborhoods here. We're supposed to get there early in the day, and my friend Colin, great guy, picked me up, and we got in early, and we volunteered for painting, and we ended up painting one of the bathrooms, the master bathroom, which takes a long time. You got to prep, sand, spackle, and then you got to, it's another coat, and then they had a weird color. That's the other thing, the donated paints, all these weird colors. But anyway, we're working on it, and we're looking out the window, and most people showed up 9:30, 10, and then they did a run to Dunkin' Donuts or whatever existed then. They brought coffee and donuts, and they stood around talking and eating, and then they feigned to do some work, and then it was lunchtime. So they did a run to the deli or pizza, and they all ate 2:30 to 1:30. We're up in the bathroom working. We're working straight through. We didn't eat. Maybe someone brought me a cup of coffee, but we didn't have anybody. We just kept working straight on through. And then come mid-afternoon, break time. You got to take a break, so everybody ran. Some people got beer, and then they came back. And then around 4:35, hey, gotta go back home. Kids are expecting me. Wife's expecting me, girlfriend's expecting me. Everybody left. Well, every project in the house was unfinished. Every single one. The kitchen, they were working on the hole. I'm fixing a hole where the rain comes in. Half done. The front porch steps, they only got one step replaced. Screen doors they were replacing. I don't think they even got to it. I don't remember all the issues. And we're up there still painting because it takes a long time. And come 7:30 in the evening, we've been there 12 hours, Colin and I, with nary a break. Maybe a break to take a leak. Maybe I had a cup of coffee. Maybe he ran down and got us a sandwich. I don't remember, but I didn't leave that bathroom the whole time. And if he did, maybe it was a quick trip down and back up. But he stayed right there with me working. Well, come 7:30, that's why I remember the story. This elderly woman, all of a sudden, all of her grandchildren came home. And they were all living there. One of them was a 21-year-old fit young man. There were teenagers, men, boys, and younger, which wasn't relevant, a couple of women. But there was there was 3 or 4 guys there that could pick up a paintbrush, pick up a hammer, pick up a saw. So Colin, who used to be the president of my fraternity, and he was in the Navy, JAG officer, JAG Corps. He took charge, and he called in the 21-year-old, and he said, "Look, we didn't realize that your grandmother's fortunate to have you. We pointing to me, we've been here since 7 in the morning. It's getting dark, and we're just not going to be able to finish. We tried, but we're just not going to be able to finish. The coat needs a second coat, and we're halfway through. We just can't finish. Everyone else is gone, and and this is around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening. I never forget. The guy goes, "Oh, that's all right. That's okay. Take your time. Take your time." And Colin just burst out in his infectious laugh. And we kept working. We maybe worked another half an hour, and we're talking. And I said, "Well, I'll go as long as you go. But, everyone's here. They're having dinner now. I feel like we're intruding." And so Colin went and got him and said, "You know what? Maybe you misunderstood me. We're going to clean this up as much as we can. We're going to leave the paint cans there, and we'll clean the brushes. But tomorrow morning, you can finish this in probably an hour and a half, and you should do it for your grandmother." And then we left. So that's a long story of saying how many people came out. I would say there were 20 people that descended on this. They all got T-shirts that said Christmas in April. They all went to their church. It was a church group. They all went to their church proud of themselves. They all went home, "Hey, we did something good." But what I noticed is they got this woman's hopes up. They supposedly were going to help her. They did a half-assed job. They didn't finish, and they left. The job was undone. And I think my job is undone. That's about as simple as I can say it. And guys like Barry Crouch obviously have a skill at trading that many people I saw and talked to don't. And they've been hurt by MMTLP, and to a lesser extent by GTII. Why lesser? Because it's still trading. And they've been hurt by COSM, hurt by CNLV, hurt by Roger James Hamilton's company. Hurt. And they have their parents invested. They and I don't know how to help everyone. I really don't know how to help everyone. But to me, trading stocks is a mug's game. Unless you sit at the computer with all the trading skills of an Avid or an Arca, and you're fascinated by it, and you don't mind whiling away 6.5 hours every single day glued to the computer, it's very difficult to make money trading. There are people that go through courses. I have a friend whose son makes $250,000 or $400,000 a year now, and it might be higher. But it took him almost 3 years of apprenticeship. 3 years working in the trading pit of this firm. They give him the money, they train him, and they teach him how to trade each day with the charts. And at first, he's given a very small amount of money. And then they expand it and expand it. And he learns by losing. And eventually, he starts to understand how to trade. Well, if you want to be a trader, like Barry Crouch is suggesting, and I'm not saying he's a day trader at all, but the guy I'm talking about, the son, is a day trader. That's the one extreme. You can do that, and there are opportunities out there. Avid finds, I mean, the guy is really good. He finds half a dozen ideas every month. I don't know about Arca, but Arca's very good. What I mean is I don't know how many he finds, but the ones I've listened to, he's very good. So, and there's a couple other traders out there. So trading is a strategy. It is something you can do. It's not what I'm trying to do with you. I have found that trading is a mug's game. You can have 1 or 2 wins, and you can blow it all in one trade. You have to have so many disciplines. Ham was saying last night, when he was trained, the guy said, write on this hand this, and write on this hand that. When I feel sick to my stomach about a stock, buy. When I feel enthusiastic and so excited, sell. And that's how he started learning how to trade. Everybody has a different style. What I try to do, and Ham does this too, I try to buy when there's blood in the streets. I try to buy when the stock is unwanted. But I've done my research, and like I was saying in the beginning of this, I see a value. Let's say it's logic. It's going to become data logic, and it's going to become this private company unknown. 75 cents plus $1.60 to start with is, so $2.25, $2.50, maybe in 3 or 4 weeks, maybe in 2 months. Starting point. There's no crystal ball, but that's the value, the accretive value of these ideas. Well, right now you buy the stock at 40 cents, a little bit more than 40 cents. Well, that's a nice rate of return. Buying at 30 cents, buying it down when it was 28 or something. No one wanted it. Finally, some of the stumbling blocks are just disappearing, but it's time. It's frustrating. But you hang on, and then when it trades up, you get out. Now, Barry is good. I'll give you. I will commend him to you to listen to him, because when you have a profit, as he puts it, you bank a profit. It's the hardest thing to do. In my position in GTII, early on, I had a chance to get out at $4. All day long for about 2 or 3 weeks, I could have gotten out at $2.50, $3, $2.20. I didn't, and they drove it back down to 75 cents. And then, I don't know, 6 months later, it ran to $2.50, $3 again. Less than that, 6 months. It was less than that. Could have gotten out then, and they drove it back down to 40 cents. Then all of a sudden, in sort of September, October, it ran to $9. And all day long for at least 4 weeks, I could have gotten out somewhere between $4, $5, $6, $7. I didn't do it. So Barry's right. He's absolutely right. It's hard to sell. And then he may have, and then just even a few weeks ago, the stock went to 3 something. Could have sold then and be buying back now. And Barry's right. If you get it right, you sell, you wait, and you buy back. He's been right so far. And I can't argue against that. That's called trading. Banking profits. And if it runs away, oh well, missed that one. I'll go on to another stock. But my premise is there aren't that many of these stocks. And what GTII has going for it in the first instance and primary instance is Ham. And the knowledge and the information flow that he has and the understanding of the trading that he has. Has it taken longer than he thought? Yeah. Is it ever going to happen? Who the heck knows? I think so. But I didn't get into this stock to make $1, to make $5, to trade it from 7 down to 4 or from 6 down to 1. I didn't get in it for that. I don't have the courage. I don't have the fortitude. I don't have Barry Crouch's brains. I don't have Avid's Fibonacci. I don't have Arca's 7 spot 2 and 4 spot 3 and boom, descending. I don't have any of that. I have a little bit, but I don't have it. So I didn't have the courage to get out. Why? Why? When I first got in this stock, it was 40 million shares that Kurt Kramer had sold to defraud David Reichman and shareholders. David Reichman bought back the note, retiring all claims that Kurt Kramer had on any shares at all. None. He had none. Kurt Kramer should have bought back all those shares for a loss. But there's something mentally wrong with the guy, emotionally wrong, morally wrong. And he figured, I've never lost before, I'm just going to keep selling. Well, he picked the wrong guy to fight. Ham said, well, game on, pal. And Ham used to have calls, and I would listen. And he told us last night, he would look. It was 30 people. 30 people. When I first turned on my computer, I think it was 12 people. I didn't even know what was going to happen. And now Ham speaks to the world. I speak to a few, and I'm happy to do so. But it was 40 million shares counterfeit with a float at that time of around 20 to 25 million. And most things were closely held. That's all we needed to have a run. But the Kramers kept selling and selling and selling like idiots. But, you know, they've always been able to amicably settle. Attorneys supposedly working on behalf of the company go through all the words and all of the action pantomime that says they're working for the shareholders, but at the end they settle amicably, and the Kramers walk away with their profits, don't pay taxes, they give up their warrants, and they go kill another company. Well, if and when GTII has to cover those 40 million shares, the stock's going to go up. And not GTII, the Kramers or Alpine. Shares in GTII. Well, now, since then, they've sold another 300 million shares that don't exist. Oh, well, it's the regulators. Oh, well, the Alpine's never going to happen. Oh, they'll get another extension. Oh, it's never. Oh, you just got to bank your profits. Okay. But if I'm right, and there's no reason I will be, the error accounts of these various broker-dealers and the prime broker start buying in the shares. It means simultaneously the selling stops and the buying starts, indifferent to price, for 350 million shares. Cut it in half, 125 million. Cut that in half, 75 million shares. Cut that in half, 37.5. Just go back to the 40 million that originally they knew about. Ignore everything that's happened ever since. 40 million shares have to get bought back. You know about 19 million right there and 1 million real. Do you think the stock will go to 150? Will it go to 3? and then you can sell there and then buy back at 1 because Alpine's going to get an extension? I'm in it because I think there will be a trigger at some point. I think we're on the verge of it. And when the buy-in's happening, the buy-in is going to carry this up like Elon Musk's SpaceX rocket. Will it explode in the sky at $40 instead of $400? I don't know. But it's going to be as big a rocket ship as Elon Musk's rocket ship. Then you use your money management systems to layer your trades out. Hold some for the high prices. Book your cash. And my guess is there'll be another stock that Ham finds. If not, take your profits. But that's how I see it. I see it as a trade in the sense you accumulate a position. As it gets to your objectives, you get out. I don't see it as a day-to-day trade. I don't see it as a trade off the 1 spot 6 and the descending line here and the boom and the boom. You get out here, you get in here. I don't see it that way. Why? We're not trading AT&T. We're not trading MCI. We're not trading Apple Computer. This is a stock that has the potential for explosive gains to the upside. I'm afraid if I get out, I'm going to miss those trades. Barry's not afraid of that. Barry thinks he can get out and get back in. Why? It's never worked before. There's always a delay. Book your profit. And it's working for him. It's working for him. He's got the courage. He's got the skill. He gets out, holds, he waits, he buys lower, which takes discipline. It takes skill. It takes a certain fortitude. He has it. If you have it, do it. I don't think I have any of that kind of fortitude. I just figure if I accumulate while no one wants it, and I wait until the event happens, which I think will, and get out then, I've got a good enough trade as far as I'm concerned. I didn't maximize it. I didn't make winning trades all along. But if it happens, I did all right. I got a D plus on it. I got a C minus. Barry's going to get a plus. But also Barry might run, he's going to say, well, I traded it well. There's other stocks to trade. And if he misses it going up, well, I wouldn't have known that was going to happen. There's too much risk. Or he might get it. He might actually catch it. So I'm not saying Barry's wrong. I'm just saying I'm too much of a wuss to follow in Barry's footsteps. I don't have the courage to sell at $1.50, bank my profit, and try to buy it back at 1. I don't have that courage. And I've been wrong. I've been wrong for 2.5 years. Barry's been right. But having said that, all you need is Trento Mines' announcement over the weekend or next week, or a 1-800 announcement on Monday, or this dividend takes a week or 2 or 3, but then it catches hold and Fidelity starts buying in shares. The FBI finds out who sold the stock to Westpac and goes and arrests him. Maybe it's Kurt Kramer. Maybe it's Charlie Mayo. Who knows? Or the whistleblower leads to the criminals. Or, I mean, it could be anything. But the price starts going up. There's a buy-in. And instead of getting out at 150, you get out at 15 or 150. Now, Avid doesn't believe you should look at those higher numbers. I've worked with people like that all my career. My argument is all stocks can go down. All stocks you should trade conservatively. But if you find one that can give you outsized returns potentially, and you can concentrate it, why not try to figure out what the upside is rather than capping your winner short? That's how I look at it. Every singer you know out there who had a long career, they had one song that got them started. Every fortune out there, not everyone, but a lot of trading, there was one stock that got them going. Or two. So that's how I see it. That's my long answer to Barry Crouch, which I'm trying to be polite, not sarcastic, but I did have some sarcasm, which I hope you forgive me for. It's just two different ways of looking at it. I never thought it'd take this long. I don't have the courage to sell or trade it the way Barry does. And I've been wrong on all that. I tried to accumulate at low prices. And when it runs, I hope I get out and I don't make idiotic decisions, because it's the hardest thing is to sell. But I'm hoping that the results will be worth the wait. And I'm not in it for $1 or $5 or $10. Personally, I think anything that makes the stock worth $15, I'll pick a number. It makes it worth $150. Because the dynamics are that the only supply in this stock has been counterfeit shares that have been defrauding the markets. By definition, that's been going on and being allowed by market makers and a prime broker. The broker-dealers are allowing it to happen because they're allowing failure to deliver to be in your accounts. Well, as the prices go up and we're in a tightening liquidity markets, margin calls can come, and then what you want is a buy-in. That's the other side of the desk. I've seen it happen. Other side of the firm. When the buy-in comes, they're not going to stop at $1.50. And they're not going to be continuing to accept sell orders. So you either buy that thesis or you don't. You trade it. And maybe maybe GTII is a trading stock, while the rest of us are all speculating and smoking dope. Maybe the best thing is to take advantage of the rest of us and just trade it in and out, in and out, in and out. I don't have the courage for it. But I've been wrong. I wish I'd sold it in November. I wish I'd sold it at the beginning of this year. I even wish I'd sold it 2 weeks ago and buying back now. But anyway, all right, that's my answer to that question. You're not pissing me off, Barry. You're not pissing me off. The only thing, Barry, that I don't want is I don't necessarily want people to follow your advice unless they're traders like you are. But if they're people like most people I meet, they bought the stock, they go about their life, they've got kids, they got a job, they're helping their elderly mother, they don't even look at their account. I don't think the advice to get out at 150 and buy it back at 1 is appropriate for them, because they don't have the time to do it. That's all. But I'm not mad at you, Barry, at all. Not at all. And if I sound that way, it's probably because my right foot is swelling up and my left foot hurts. And and I do wish I had traded better. I will admit that. I will admit that. I wish I weren't so cowardly. And I wish it were over. I'm sick of it. I'm sick saying the same things over and over again. I'm sick of the Kramers criming. I'm sick of scumbags like John Hurry and his blonde getting larger wife. And I'm sick of Gensler. Well, over here we have this. We have the strongest markets. And I'm so sincere. Sick of it all. I'm sick of it all. It's depressing. And the only way I know how to make it change is if we hold their feet to the fire and GTII costs the criminals. The only way to make a criminal feel pain is, I'm telling you, make him broke. Make him broke. Yeah, Shannon, lemon hibiscus tea. I can't pronounce that. I have done that. Lemon tea. It's a lot of things, but you know what I think it really is? It's stress, because the last few days, and I'm not talking about the stress like worry, it's stress getting there on time, being there, walking, being at the hog, you know. And the other thing, dehydration. I notice it happens. Honey oil? Honey oil? I'll look that up if it took it away forever. Yeah, 8:30, 24 the money. I don't know, MKC. I'm still waiting for my growth spurt. Well, there you go. Fritz Flappy Ears got it. He learned in, or I guess technically that could be a she. Okay. So Flappy Ears learned in GME, when it rapidly squeezes, you can't easily buy. That's why or she or they or whatever accumulated GTII and averaged down even when you could scalp. Yeah, and the other thing, what Barry might be doing, what you might be doing, you can trade 10%. Trade part of your position. I haven't even had the courage to do that. Activated charcoal. Yeah, I'm in good health. Jenny, please stop ignoring me. Let me see what Jenny said. 6:27. Please take a break. You need it. We'll see you back in 2.5 hours. All right. One fix it, man. Look at VW overstock. Look at short squeezes. Yeah. Anyway, Barry, I'm not mad at you at all. For the love of Lucky, you need to eat, nap, and walk him. All right, Jenny, Rebecca. Nag, nag, nag. Busy call coming up. All right. So it's 6. I'll give it 3 minutes, 6:30. And we'll Lucky and I will preambulate. He will pee, and we'll be back. Maybe I can have a 20-minute nap, and we'll come back on at 8:30. So 2 more minutes for anything important. Yeah, I have allopurinol in the closet, but right now I'm taking colchicine. I took 2 pills of it. Yeah, black and white scones cause squeezes. That's right. And you never know when it's going to go. That's right, Pete Tong. I know, I am exhausted. Jenny, 2 more minutes and I'll be following your advice. I know, I got to drink a lot of water. That's right. There is a limited diet for gout. But it's hereditary. In my experience, it's not as much diet as water, and not having stress. I agree with it, Yuma Madhu. I actually like, and I know he's JFK's nephew. He's also Robert F. Kennedy's son. And I'm growing as I get older to really appreciate JFK more. But RFK was, to me, one of my political heroes. And his son, I think highly of, and he could spearhead it. Hey, happy Eid. That's great. Isn't that tomorrow? Somebody was saying it might be Saturday, but happy Eid. Yeah, you're supposed to drink a lot of water, and I've been drinking less than I should be drinking, so you're right. 8 glasses a day. Everybody has advice. Anyway, all right, I'm going to turn it off. I'll see you at probably at 8:30, 8:25. Yeah, I'm going to go, and let's listen to Ham in 2 hours. Okay, is it a deal?